Welcome to another episode of PPL Pod. Today's deep dive is unpacking a very modern kind of music mystery.
Yeah, it's a story that perfectly captures the internet era, honestly.
It really does. So I want you to picture the scenario. A teenager is sitting in her childhood bedroom, messing around on a cheap plastic keyboard. She records a low-fidelity pop song into her laptop, uploads it, and then seemingly overnight, she becomes a massive, inescapable viral sensation.
Right, which is the dream for so many young artists.
Exactly. But almost the exact second that fame hits, she faces this intense, crushing wave of accusations from the internet, basically claiming her entire career is a manufactured corporate lie.
It is the ultimate collision of two forces that really define our culture right now. On one side, you have that dream of organic lightning-in-a-bottle virality.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you have the deeply cynical, highly dreaded industry plant label.
Well, think about it like this. Imagine discovering that your absolute favorite, charming, seemingly independent neighborhood coffee shop, right? Like the one with the mismatched vintage chairs and the handwritten chalkboard menus.
Oh, I know exactly the kind of place you mean.
Yeah. Imagine finding out that it's actually secretly funded by a massive, ruthless global hedge fund. It immediately makes you ask yourself a really uncomfortable question, like, does this change how my coffee tastes?
That's a great way to put it.
Does the financial backing fundamentally alter my perception of the art itself?
It's a jarring feeling for a fan to grapple with. Because as listeners, we put immense stock into the origin stories of our favorite artists. We want to believe we discovered a hidden gem, not some highly calculated marketing product.
Right. And the artist at the center of this specific story who had to navigate that exact crisis of public perception is Claire Elizabeth Cottrell, better known to the world as Clairo.
Yes. And for those listening who might not be familiar with that name, Clairo is essentially a defining singer-songwriter for Generation Z.
Yeah, she is arguably one of the most vital figures who helped popularize an entire aesthetic known as bedroom pop.
Totally. And this deep dive, it goes far beyond a standard biography of a pop star.
Oh.
We are exploring the actual mechanics of surviving instant internet fame.
Because it's brutal.
It is. We're looking closely at the crushing physical and mental weight that accompanies overnight success and the incredibly difficult, years-long journey of trying to prove your artistic legitimacy to a world that has already decided you're a fraud.
And even if you've heard her hit songs looping in the background of TikTok videos or, playing in a grocery store, you likely have no idea about the human being behind those viral moments. Which actually makes me want to throw a question to you right off the bat.
Okay, go for it.
When someone's homemade music goes massively viral at age 18, do we as a society actually expect them to be a fully formed, bulletproof artist, or are we secretly just setting a timer waiting for them to fail?
Oh, that is the core issue here. The modern consumption of culture just does not allow for an incubation period anymore.
Right, there's no grace period.
Exactly. The traditional 20th century music industry model allowed artists to develop over years. They played dive bars, they figured out their sonic identity, and crucially, they were allowed to fail in private.
Yeah, without millions of people watching.
Viral fame destroys that sanctuary entirely. When an algorithm pushes your messy, experimental first drafts to millions of people instantly, you are judged as a finished, polished product before you've even figured out who you are as a person.
So let's look at those early drafts to understand the foundation of her career. Claire Cottrell was born in Atlanta, Georgia. She lived there until she was 7. Her family briefly relocated to Washington State, and they eventually put down roots in Carlisle, Massachusetts.
And Carlisle is where her musical identity really started to take shape, right around the age of 13.
Yeah.
She did have a few formal lessons, but her primary method of learning guitar is this fascinating snapshot of how her generation absorbs information. She didn't rely on formal sheet music.
No, she used YouTube, right?
Yeah, she watched YouTube tutorials and literally copied the hand movements of the people on her laptop screen, figuring out the chords just by visual mimicry.
That specific detail feels so important to me. She was mirroring pixels. And it's not like she immediately felt like a prodigy either.
Oh, not at all.
Her very first recording was a cover of a Maroon 5 song, and she was absolutely paralyzed by the thought of sharing it. She's talked about how it took her hours of agonizing over whether to put it on Facebook.
Which is so relatable for a teenager.
Totally. And when she finally did, she just closed her eyes, hit post, slammed her computer shut, and tried to distract herself.
The psychological hurdle of sharing your voice for the first time is immense. But once she crossed that threshold, she couldn't really stop. She started leaving this vast, completely uncurated digital footprint all over the early 2010s internet.
Right, just posting everywhere.
She was uploading material to Bandcamp and SoundCloud under various monikers. Sometimes she posted as Clairo, other times she uploaded rap DJ mixes under the name DJ Baby Benz.
Which I love, DJ Baby Benz. She was treating the internet like an open diary. Her influences were incredibly broad, partly because her parents exposed her to artists like Al Green and the ethereal pop of the Cocteau Twins.
Yeah, very eclectic mix.
But the real catalyst, like the moment the light bulb went on, was hearing an album by the indie rock band The Shins called Wincing the Night Away. She said that record made her completely geek out, and it solidified her desire to stop just covering songs and start making her own.
And it's important to note, she was operating in a total vacuum at this point. People in her immediate orbit told her that a career in the music industry was highly unlikely, just a pipe dream.
Right.
Because she didn't view it as a viable career path, she had no commercial strategy. She was just experimenting musically, purely for the joy in the release of it.
While putting unpolished, deeply experimental art online when you're a young teenager is a brave move, but it leaves you entirely exposed. Because she left that digital diary so wide open, she was perfectly positioned to catch a cultural wave she didn't even see coming.
And that wave hit in late 2017. Clairo recorded a song called Pretty Girl, and the circumstances around its creation were incredibly humble.
Yeah, it wasn't some big studio push.
Exactly. It wasn't the lead single for a major album launch. She recorded it for a small indie rock compilation being put together to benefit the Transgender Law Center.
She built the track using a cheap little keyboard she had lying around the house, pulling heavy inspiration from the 1980s pop music her mother loved. And the video for Pretty Girl is, it's the definition of understated.
Oh, completely.
It's just her sitting in her childhood bedroom, wearing a baggy sweatshirt, singing directly into her laptop's webcam.
And that lack of polish triggered the viral explosion. First, the video began circulating in niche, vaporwave-centric Facebook groups.
And if you aren't familiar with vaporwave, it's an internet microgenre obsessed with retro 80s and 90s aesthetics, early computer graphics, and a kind of nostalgic low-fidelity sound.
Right, and her video fit that highly specific internet subculture perfectly. But then, the YouTube algorithm got a hold of it. Suddenly, Pretty Girl catapulted to millions of views. She quickly followed it up with another track, Flaming Hot Cheetos, which experienced the exact same algorithmic skyrocketing.
I want to pause on the mechanics of this so-called overnight success, though, because people always credit the algorithm like it's some magical wand. But how much of this explosion was pure mathematical luck versus the specific aesthetic appeal of what she was putting on screen? Like bedroom pop really resonated with isolated teens.
We have to look at how recommendation algorithms actually function to answer that. The algorithm doesn't have taste. It optimizes for engagement and watch time.
Okay.
Clairo's video had a deeply magnetic, intimate quality. Watching it felt like you're on a private FaceTime call with a friend. Because it was so unpretentious, viewers weren't clicking away.
Right, they stayed on the video.
Exactly. The algorithm saw high retention rates and started pushing it to wider audiences. But the reason people stayed was the cultural contrast. We were coming out of an era dominated by highly polished, heavily produced pop stars.
Yeah, everything was so glossy.
And her relatable, slightly awkward authenticity resonated profoundly with a generation of teenagers who spent their lives feeling isolated behind screens.
Now, the major music labels are constantly monitoring those same algorithms, looking for exactly that kind of attention. So naturally, the industry smells blood in the water. Heavy hitters like Capitol Records, RCA, and Columbia all start knocking on her door trying to sign the next big internet phenomenon.
It was a bidding war.
But Clairo ultimately bypassed them to sign a recording contract with Fader label, and this exact decision is where the internet fiercely turned against her.
The narrative violently shifted from underdog indie darling to the center of a massive nepo baby controversy. Internet sleuths started digging into the details of her signing, and they realized her father, Jeff Cottrell, was not just an average supportive parent.
No, definitely not.
He was a highly connected, high-level marketing executive.
He wasn't just working mid-level corporate jobs either. We were talking about major executive roles at Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Starbucks, Converse, and Topgolf.
And beyond his corporate marketing resume, he was also one of the founding executives of a recording studio in Brooklyn. But most crucially, he had a personal relationship with John Cohen, the co-founder of the Fader magazine.
Right.
Jeff Cottrell facilitated his daughter's recording contract with Fader label. And through these established industry connections, Clairo was introduced to and eventually managed by Pat Corcoran, who was widely known as Chance the Rapper's manager.
So once the comment sections found this out, the backlash was absolute vitriol. People relentlessly labeled her a nepo baby and an industry plant. They argued that the messy bedroom pop persona was actually a carefully calculated, focus-grouped marketing lie orchestrated by her father's boardroom connections.
To fully understand why people got so angry, you have to look at the economics of the modern music business. Major labels spend millions of dollars trying to artificially manufacture the exact kind of organic virality that Clairo had.
Right, they hire influencer farms and algorithmic consultants to simulate authenticity.
Exactly. So when fans discover an artist has deep industry ties, a cynical defense mechanism triggers. They feel like they've been duped by a covert marketing campaign, rather than having naturally discovered a rising star.
It sounds like she was being punished for the sins of the industry, honestly. The fans felt betrayed by the machinery, so they took it out on the artist. And, I mean, to be completely fair to the sources we're looking at, Clairo has never hidden this. She has openly acknowledged the immense social privilege she benefited from via her father's connections.
The access undeniably provided a massive shortcut. Thousands of equally talented teenagers uploading songs to SoundCloud will never get their music on the desk of the Fader's co-founder.
No, never.
But, and this is the vital distinction that gets lost in internet outrage, her father's marketing connections did not sit in that bedroom and write Pretty Girl. They didn't manipulate the YouTube code to make teenagers resonate with her lyrics. The initial emotional spark was entirely her own.
So how does an 18-year-old respond when millions of people are calling her a fraud? She fights back the only way a musician actually can, by releasing more art.
Right.
In May 2018, she put out her debut EP titled Diary 001. Critics, notably the often harsh reviewers at Pitchfork, pointed out that the EP should effectively silence the people dismissing her as an industry plant because it showcased genuine, undeniable songwriting chops.
And she was so fiercely committed to proving her legitimacy that she made a massive life pivot. Back in 2017, she'd enrolled in the Bandier program at Syracuse University.
Okay, what is that exactly?
For those unfamiliar, the Bandier program isn't a standard music school where you just practice vocal scales. It's an incredibly elite, highly specialized degree focused on the actual business of the recording industry, publishing, management, and touring economics.
Oh, wow.
But after just 1 year, she dropped out to pursue music full-time.
What fascinates me is that the program's director, Bill Weird, actually encouraged her to leave. He explicitly told her she had a rare opportunity. It is incredibly rare to hear about a college professor advising a student to abandon their degree.
Yeah, that almost never happens.
But he saw the momentum she had built and knew she had to capitalize on it immediately.
And that gamble paid off spectacularly. In 2019, she released her critically acclaimed debut studio album, Immunity. It was a massive sonic leap forward, proving she wasn't just a lo-fi internet novelty.
Yeah, it was a huge step up.
The album featured the single Bags, which landed on numerous critical songs of the decade lists. It also included Sophia, which became her very first single to chart on the Billboard Hot 100.
She is winning Pop Artist of the Year at the Boston Music Awards. She is making her national television debuts on Jimmy Kimmel and Ellen. From the outside looking in, she has completely beaten the allegations and is living the pop star dream. But the physical and psychological toll this era took on her body is harrowing.
The touring cycle for Immunity nearly broke her. The stress of the schedule and the relentless public scrutiny became so profound that her hair literally began to fall out.
Oh my God.
She lost a frightening amount of weight, surviving on just 2 small meals a day while traveling across the country.
And we have to inject a crucial piece of context here to understand the severity of this. When she was just 17, Clairo was diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis.
Right.
For listeners who don't know, this is an autoimmune condition where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks its own joints, causing intense chronic pain and inflammation. So she is dealing with chronic joint pain, layered with immense internet hatred, layered with a grueling, sleep-deprived tour schedule.
She was also navigating clinical depression and anxiety, which eventually forced her to cancel fan meet and greets just to preserve her own sanity. This physical breakdown exposes a glaring paradox in how we treat artists.
The paradox is wild to me. It seems like the music industry and the fans demand that artists bleed on the page. They want completely vulnerable, fragile, emotionally shattered songwriting. But the second the album drops, they expect that same artist to become a bulletproof industrial machine capable of performing night after night in different time zones without complaining.
It's entirely unsustainable. She was heading toward a complete collapse. Ironically, the global tragedy of the COVID-19 pandemic shutting down the live music industry in 2020 might have been the very thing that saved her career and potentially her health.
Yeah, the world just stopped.
The lockdowns forced her to step off the touring treadmill. She moved back in with her family in Atlanta, and that forced pause initiated a massive ideological shift in how she wanted to exist as an artist.
She realized the machine was killing her. She ended up buying a 5-acre property in upstate New York, situated right between the Berkshires and the Catskills. She purposefully retreated into nature, stating that living quietly among the trees is where she actually finds the space to hear her own thoughts and write songs.
You can hear that geographical and psychological shift perfectly mirrored in her next project. In 2021, she released her second album, Sling, co-produced with Jack Antonoff.
And the shift in sound is stark and unapologetic.
Yes. She completely abandons the teenage bedroom pop aesthetic that made her famous.
She actively dismantles the persona so she doesn't get trapped inside it. Sling pivots into these rich, orchestral, soft rock meditations. She's singing about the anxieties of future motherhood, the quietness of domesticity, and the heavy responsibility of becoming a caregiver.
She even featured her newly adopted dog, Joannie, on the album cover.
I love that detail.
It was a deeply mature, deliberate rejection of the pop star box the internet tried to force her into. However, the physical reality of her chronic health issues continued to plague her.
Right, because the pain doesn't just go away.
During the Sling tour, she experienced a terrifying technical error in Toronto. To explain quickly, touring musicians wear in-ear monitors, custom earpieces that block out crowd noise and pump the audio mix directly into the ear canal. During her set, the monitors malfunctioned and became unbearably loud.
That sounds incredibly painful.
It is. It caused temporary hearing damage and forced her to cancel subsequent shows. Later, on her UK tour, a severe case of sinusitis affected her breathing and voice so badly that she suffered a panic attack on stage in Bristol and had to walk off after just 2 songs.
It is a relentless gauntlet, but she refuses to quit. She just keeps adapting her environment to better protect herself. In 2024, we see her maturation into a fully independent artist. She self-released her 3rd studio album titled Charm.
And Charm represents her truly spreading her creative wings. She co-produced the record with Leon Michaels, leaning into beautiful, warm, analog jazz-like production. He received widespread critical acclaim for her musical expansion.
And the industry couldn't ignore her independent success. This self-released path earned her a 2025 Grammy nomination for Best Alternative Music Album.
Which is a huge validation.
And she also starts making these incredibly quirky, highly confident visual choices that completely subvert expectations. For the Charm album cycle, she refused to make standard, glamorous pop videos. The music video for the song Juna is set entirely in a professional wrestling ring.
Right.
The video for Sexy to Someone features her wandering through the woods and entrancing a literal yeti. And for the song Terrapin, she hired actress Ayo to direct it, and they cast Weird Al Yankovic to play Clairo.
These visual choices act as a brilliant defense mechanism. By casting a Yeti or Weird Al, she is deliberately shielding herself from the hypersexualized, overly serious machinery of pop stardom.
Exactly. She's taking the pressure off.
She is clearly having fun again. She has removed the suffocating pressure of having to maintain viral relevance and is finally just existing as a creative artist who happens to have a large audience. Now, it is worth noting that while she achieved this massive milestone independently, in September 2025, she did choose to sign with Atlantic Records.
But on her own terms, right?
Yes, stating she felt confident she could maintain her creative freedom within their infrastructure.
And as she established this solid footing, she also began using her platform to speak out on major social issues. According to the sources, her activism has become a highly visible component of her public life. And we're just going to impartially report the facts of her activism here, as it's a big part of her story.
Right. In 2022, she joined numerous artists in signing a full-page ad in the New York Times, condemning the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade. Shortly after, she performed at the Glastonbury Festival wearing a T-shirt that read, "Bands off our bodies," to protest the decision.
She also added her name to the Artists for Ceasefire open letter directed at President Biden regarding the war in Gaza. In 2025, she aligned with the No Music for Genocide movement, choosing to remove her entire discography from streaming services operating in Israel.
That same year, She was introduced on stage at the Coachella Music Festival by Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Maxwell Frost as part of Sanders' national tour protesting oligarchy.
And alongside her political activism, she has also been vocal about her personal identity. Back in 2018, she came out as bisexual to her fans on Twitter.
And in a more recent 2025 interview, she discussed her queer identity, emphasizing that she actively rejects strict labels and simply believes people should be free to love whoever they want.
When you lay this entire trajectory out, it's like watching someone realize they are trapped inside a pressure cooker. Instead of letting the music industry and the internet turn up the heat until she physically and mentally exploded, she took control. She manually released the valve.
Yeah, she saved herself.
Stepping away from the major labels, moving to the woods in upstate New York to make jazz pop, and filming music videos with the Yeti, that is how you survive the machine.
She proved that you cannot manufacture longevity. Critics can claim a teenager is a product of her father's connections, an industry plant grown in a boardroom. But boardroom connections cannot give you the endurance required to survive a grueling international tour while battling an autoimmune disease.
No, definitely not.
You can't fake the resilience required to completely reinvent your sound.
I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on today. We live in a digital culture that constantly demands raw, unfiltered, absolute authenticity from artists at all times.
We really do.
But perhaps true authenticity has nothing to do with having a gritty, self-made origin story. Maybe true authenticity isn't about where you came from or who your parents are or how you got your first record deal. Maybe it is simply having the courage to grow up, to drastically change your art when you feel like it, and to fiercely protect your own peace, even if it means stepping out of the spotlight and moving to the woods. Thanks for listening to PPL Pod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.